أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأني فضلتكم على العالمين واتقوا يوما لا تجزي نفس عن نفس شيئا ولا يقبل منها عدل ولا تنفعها شفاعة ولا هم ينصرون. وإذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمات فأتمهن قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي قال يا لنال عهد الظالمين. وإذ جعلنا البيت مثابة للناس وأمنا واتخذوا من مقام إبراهيم مصلى وعهدنا إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل أن طهرا بيتي للطائفين والعاكفين والركع السجود. وإذ قال إبراهيم رب اجعل هذا بلدا آمنا وارزق أهله من آمن منهم بالله واليوم الآخر. قال ومن كفر فأمتعه قليلا ثم أضطره إلى عذاب النار وبئس المصير. وإذ يرفع إبراهيم القواعد من البيت وإسماعيل ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم ربنا وجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك وأرنا مناسكنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا وابعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياتك ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم.
Jazakallah khair, Awais, for the lovely recitation. Okay, it looks like more or less everybody is here. We are missing one regular, however. We found out the message has been sent, so we are finding out their whereabouts as we speak. Let us make a start nonetheless, inshallah. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. And we the regular having joined, alhamdulillah, let us speak then, my brothers and my sisters, regarding a question that was left yesterday. Why was the Qibla direction changed to Mecca, from Jerusalem to Mecca? Now, I roughly knew the answer, of course. I didn't want to just give it, however, without still checking up on if there's anything extra I could mention. However, it's one of those things that when you go into your notes, I suppose you could say, you go down a rabbit hole that seems to never end. So I believe the person who asked the question, their name was iPhone. Not very clear exactly who that is, but if that same person is the iPhone that I can see in the chat now, I have a question. The question is, do you want me to go through it now or in 2 days' time? The ayahs regarding this are coming up in 2 days' time. So if that brother or sister is here who asked the question last night, if you want it covered now, that can be done. But I think it might be better if we leave it for when it's going to come up anyway, in 2 days. Exactly 2 days, inshallah. So just let me know, inshallah, in the chat box, if that same brother or sister is here who asked the question. Until I get that answer to that, I'm going to make a start nonetheless on ayah 123, inshallah. Okay. واتقوا يوما لا تجزي نفس عن نفس شيئا ولا يقبل منها عدل ولا تنفعها شفاعة ولا هم ينصرون. There's going to be a day, my brothers and my sisters, and this is what the Quran comes back to time and time again. You find it all across Juz Amma, para 30. You find it all across the big surahs that you read. You find it everywhere, my brothers and my sisters. The Day of Judgment. What is the Day of Judgment? The Day of Judgment, my brothers and my sisters, will be a day when you will not even be looking for your family. You think there's no one else I love more in the world than my family. Family before anything else, family first, right? Not even your family that day, my brothers and my sisters. The Day of Judgment is such a day where that friend that you hold so close to you, you'd want nothing to do with them, because on that day it's nafsi, nafsi, myself, myself. Everyone is for themselves on that day. No one can help you on that day, my brothers and my sisters, when your mountain of deeds or your mountain of sins will be your decider. That is the day that Allah refers to every single time. That is the day, my brothers and my sisters, that we are essentially here for. We're working for that day. So Allah brings this day up now. Again, Allah mentions this day. Beware of this day when not one single person can stand in the place of another person, not one soul for another soul. If your family and friends are good people, but we're people who have gone astray, that will be of no help to us on that day, my brothers and my sisters. This is Allah. This is what Allah comes back to time and time again, and for very good reason, because we need the reminder. Whenever, my brothers and my sisters, you feel a bit directionless, whenever you feel like, what is the purpose, what is the point, boredom strikes, you feel a bit aimless, remember that we are going to one place. Before even we get to Jannah or Jahannam or wherever we end up, where is the one place every single person is going to meet? Every single person is going to feel, every single person is going to one place, one time, one day. And that is the Day of Judgment. Not even a goat or an animal that hurt another animal will be free that day. Even the animal without horns, my brothers and my sisters, that was hurt by an animal with horns, Allah on that day will judge between the two and will give the animal who does not have horns on that day, so that it can get back for what it was dealt in the dunya. So now what about you and me? What about our horns? What about all the people we've hurt on a day-to-day basis? This is what Allah comes back to time and time again. And why? Why? It's not just out of the blue, my brothers and my sisters. There's very good reason, because we forget our purpose all the time. But by remembering the Day of Judgment, wallahi, you'll find direction in your life. You'll know where you're heading. And only when you know where you're heading does the journey make sense. Imagine you go out one day and you just go for a random drive. You're directionless. That is essentially what the dunya can become when we forget the Day of Judgment, where we're going, and the progress that we need to make. Verse 124, Allah mentions the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam very, very briefly by saying, وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ. Allah tested Ibrahim, such a difficult testing, ibtala, to really try someone, to really put someone through strain and tribulation and trial. Who was Ibrahim alayhi salam? And it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The stories of Ibrahim will make you weep. Spend some time, my brothers and my sisters, look into the stories of Ibrahim alayhi salam and watch your faith just become something else. Watch your life change from the inspiration you take from our grandfather. My brothers and my sisters, Ibrahim alayhi salam was the grandfather of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, many, many generations above, of course, no doubt about it. But he is in the genealogy, he is the ancestor of our beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon his soul. And this is why we always make durood upon both our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his great grandfather Ibrahim alayhi salam, Prophet Abraham. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidul Majid. Jazakallah khair. And with that being said, who was Ibrahim alayhi salam and why was he so great? Ibrahim alayhi salam was such a man. He was such a man that his father, Azar, was an idol maker. Okay? But Ibrahim alayhi salam, as a child, he did not feel inclined towards these idols. He did not want anything to do them. He did not feel they're right. He didn't know what the truth was just yet, perhaps. He knew he wasn't with the idols. And he would always question his people. He would question his father, the creator of the idols for all of the community. Why do you worship something that cannot eat the food that you give it, cannot speak to you, cannot hear what you're saying, cannot even move the flies away that sit on the idols themselves? Why do you worship this stone? This was Ibrahim alayhi salam as a child. He would say these things, my brothers and my sisters. Eventually, of course, as you can imagine, this isn't going to fare well in a community of polytheists. And the time came when, of course, Ibrahim alayhi salam breaks the idols, and you know what happens. And then he says to the people, the big one did it, and they're outraged. And we know the general story. They throw him now into a fire. This is one of the first tests of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Imagine this. You're thrown into a fire, my brothers and my sisters. You're catapulted into a blaze. You're gone for. Surely that's it. It's over. But no. Not if Allah has something to say about it. Kunu bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. Be, Allah says to the fire, be cold, be cool and peaceful for Ibrahim alayhi salam. Who is Ibrahim alayhi salam? He is the man, the walking legend, my brothers and my sisters, the prophet of Allah, who is known as Khalilullah. He is known as the friend of Allah. The friend of Allah. Allah makes fire cool for him when he is thrown into a fire, because he holds up the concept of one God. Ibrahim alayhi salam is this man who, after he was thrown into the fire, and he comes out alive, unscathed, and the people do not know what to do with him, with this boy who was just thrown into a fire and survived. And now he's going to be thrown out of his village, and he's going to essentially be exiled, and relations break off between him and his father. What does he say to this man who essentially allowed him to be thrown into a fire, and he's his own blood? Does he hate him? Does he despise his very soul? Does he argue? Does he shout? Does he scream at his father, who is his own blood, my brothers and my sisters, an idol maker? When he parts ways with his father, who of course he has so much love for, even though he might not be a believer, he still says salam. He still says salam to his father. Words of peace when parting with his father, my brothers and my sisters. When we have an argument with someone, when they do the slightest thing to us, how much of a fit do we throw? We're ready to break the walls, the world, and all it contains to make our right shown, to show the people, my brothers, that we will not be wrong. He was thrown into a fire, and his father essentially allowed it. And he still says salam to his father when he leaves, in the kindest, most polite way that he can, when he leaves. This is Ibrahim alayhi salam. It takes him decades, my brothers and my sisters, to have a child. Allah doesn't give him a child straight away. Allah does not. Imagine going through years and years and years in trial and tribulation to finally get your child. Allah grants you a child. And then what does Allah say to him? You must now leave your wife and your child in the middle of nowhere, a desert that you've tried so hard for. Finally, Allah gives you a child, very young babe, and your wife, who finally gave you a child, now leave them in the middle of absolutely nowhere. In the middle of absolutely nowhere, the desert, my brothers and my sisters, with no one but Allah as their protector. And what does he do? He just turns and he walks away, because Allah tells him to. His wife asks him, radiallahu anha, peace be upon her soul, she asks him, did Allah tell you to do this? And he says, yes. And that's it. And she accepts. She says, if Allah tells you to do it, you do it. And he walks away, and he has to leave his family that he's been trying for decades to build, this family with a child just born in the middle of the desert with no one, no physical entity. This is Ibrahim alayhi salam. And of course, if Allah is going to take care, Allah is going to take care. Because of this sacrifice, we know about the story of Zamzam, we know about Mount Safa and Marwa. Jibreel alayhi salam, Ismail, Ishaq, because of the sacrifice of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Hajar, Mecca starts to build. People start to come to the well of Zamzam. People start to flood in from all over. A settlement is made, and Mecca becomes what it is. All because of the sacrifice Ibrahim alayhi salam makes, and his wife makes, peace be upon them both. Now he comes back many, many, many years later to this family whom he has so much love for, my brothers and my sisters. And after going through so much, surely no more trials and tribulations, right? What happens? Allah says to him, now slaughter your son. Allah says to him, slaughter your son. So much love he would have for this family. But still he gets the knife. After, of course, crying, sobbing. The stories are clear. His son even tells him, you have to do this. If Allah has told you to do this, you do it. Gets the knife ready, but no, Allah stops it and says, you've done enough here. You listen to my command. And it is exchanged for an animal. And from this, we get the idea of Qurban, slaughtering an animal in remembrance of the acts of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Mount Safa and Marwa, we run between them in remembrance of Hajar alayhi salam. Think about that, my brothers and my sisters. Women in Islam, we run to this day, thousands of years later, on Hajj, between Mount Safa and Mount Marwa. Even a non-practicing Muslim knows about this ritual that we have. Even non-Muslims know about this ritual that we have, that to this day, we run from Mount Safa to Mount Marwa and back in the footsteps of a woman from thousands of years ago because of a sacrifice in the eyes of Allah. We follow the footsteps of Hajar alayhi salam, a woman. This is our Islam. This is the remembrance of Ibrahim alayhi salam. We do, my brothers and my sisters, this is Ibrahim alayhi salam. Why do we say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim? Oh Allah, bless the family, bless Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family, like the way you blessed Ibrahim alayhi salam and the family of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka hamidun majid. Why? Because Ibrahim alayhi salam is our grandfather. He's the grandfather of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and from him come all the major religions, all the Abrahamic faiths. Ibrahim alayhi salam, this is where they converge. With this borne in mind, my brothers and my sisters, remember Ibrahim alayhi salam. When you make your durood, remember the man who gave everything, his whole life in the way of Allah. And to this day, we remember him as the friend of Allah. And even his wife, we remember her steps that we take on Hajj itself. My brothers and my sisters, this next section today is very much related to the beautiful stories of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So let's jump straight into it. Okay. And hopefully this is more or less explained itself now. And of course, as you can see, Ibrahim alayhi salam himself asks Allah to grant from his children leaders. Ibrahim alayhi salam even wants leaders from his children. Of course, we have Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam amongst others who come, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the greatest of all mankind, comes from the progeny of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now, every single major world religion, the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims, claim Ibrahim alayhi salam. In fact, even the polytheists, the idolaters of Mecca in 7th century Arabia, laid claim to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Everyone said they were following the footsteps, and everyone said that they were following the tenets and the creed of Ibrahim alayhi salam, even the idolaters. Of course, Ibrahim alayhi salam was completely against idolatry, and we know the stories. But this is why the Quraysh of the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did what they did. They thought they were genuinely following Ibrahim alayhi salam's footsteps with idolatry in Mecca. And this is really interesting because even they, not a monotheistic faith exactly, they're polytheists, right? They might say Allah is at the top of all the gods, but they believed in other gods as ways to get to Allah, yes? Even these polytheists claimed Ibrahim alayhi salam in the time of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So every single person is Ibrahim alayhi salam. And here, what does Allah say? وَإِذْ جَعَلْنَا الْبَيْتَ مَثَابَةً لِلنَّاسِ وَأَمْنًا. We made the house. What is the house? This is the Kaaba here. A sanctuary for people, saying, take the spot where Ibrahim alayhi salam stood for you as the place of prayer. Ibrahim alayhi salam in another section of the Quran says, رَبِّ جَعَلْ هَذَا بَلَدًا آمِنًا وَجُنُوبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامَ. oh my Lord, Ibrahim alayhi salam says this. Imagine this, the man who, his stories are endless. The Khalilullah, the friend of Allah, says, make this city, make this Mecca a place of peace and keep me and my sons away from worshipping idols. Firstly, he makes dua for himself, and he's a prophet. One of the greatest prophets to ever walk the face of the earth, my brothers and my sisters. He makes dua for who first? Himself. Keep me safe from worshipping idols and my sons safe from worshipping idols. When was the last time we made such sincere dua to stay on the straight path to ourselves? When was the last time, my brothers and my sisters, that you and I, we just begged Allah to keep us on the straight path, away from worshipping anything that does not exist to be worshipped? Before making dua for anyone else, we should make dua for ourselves. And sincere dua for ourselves, because we might feel like we're good Muslims sometimes. But this is a complete delusion. We might be indeed, but that's not for us to say, my brothers and my sisters. If Ibrahim alayhi salam, and we know who he is first and foremost worrying about himself, even whilst alive, what about you and me? And then our children. Remember the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam, brothers and my sisters, and think about it for ourselves. Verse 126. I'm just going to go to the English now, each time. So Ibrahim alayhi salam says, Rabbi ja'al hadha baladan amina. Okay, so I've touched upon the start of this, but the dua becomes a bit different here. وَرَزُقْ أَهْلَهُ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Produce with this produce, with this thamarat, with these fruits, those of its people who believe in Allah on the last day, and for those who disbelieve, so on and so forth. One thing I really want to concentrate on is how does Ibrahim alayhi salam start the dua? He starts the dua with Rabbi, which in English, it doesn't do justice. You know that, by the way, it's a really important point to make. I hope everyone pays attention. You know, these English translations that you read, they're massively lacking, and this will be the case forever. And I'm sure you've heard of this many times before, but I need you to really understand to what level we're talking about. No English translation will ever do justice to the meanings that the Arabic gives. This is why many scholars throughout history have actually said that learning Arabic, learning the Quran, even if it takes years for you, but do it slowly, is wajib or fard. Many have said that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this was a past opinion that is more or less lost nowadays. But why were those scholars once upon a time so strict upon us learning Arabic? Because any other language completely shatters the meaning. There's no other kind of way to put it. The meaning is completely lost. Completely. Okay. And it's still beautiful when you read the English, especially by a good translation. But you can see why this opinion was so strict in the past. Okay. Learn Arabic, my brothers and my sisters, even if it takes you a decade, even if it takes you 2 decades, okay? Slowly but surely you will get there, and Allah will reward you for it. But only then will you see the real beauty. So this doesn't mean my Lord. Rabb doesn't mean my Lord. Rabb, my brothers and my sisters, comes from the Arabic word ra and ba, which even you get the word riba from it. Anyway, there's many layers to this. One thing that I really want to concentrate on the word Rabb, and when you use this word yourself, remember this. He is the one who nurtures. The one who nurtures from when you're absolutely nothing to where you are today and onwards. A nurturer is a Rabb. It's all to do with nurturing. This is who your Allah is, a nurturer. How did you get from fetus to adult? Because you're all adults. Once you pass the age of puberty, you are an adult. I'm sorry that the Lord tells you otherwise, but my brothers and my sisters, who made you the adult that you are today? You might feel young, but you're not. You might feel young, but you're not. I'm telling you now. Islam considers you an adult. But who brought you here? The one who nurtured you even whilst you were in the womb of your mother. How are you surviving in the womb of your mother? Allah is nurturing you. Who keeps the birds aflight? Allah, the one who nurtures every single plant and animal from nothing, from absolute conception to adulthood and all the way to their grave. This is Allah. That is your Allah. That is what you're calling when you say the word Rabb, the one who's nurtured you into everything that you are today. When you think of that, it's a completely different image you're going to have to just my Lord, which is in English, it just sounds, and even slaves who say this to their masters, for example. Okay, is everyone else's connection bad, or is it just Joanna? How's my How's on your computer? Yeah, I think so. Breaking. Mine is fine. Okay. I'm good. Okay. So I think it might just be one or two people. Inshallah, I'm going to carry on for today. Anyway, let us continue. I'll speak really close to the microphone. Okay. Let's go to 128. I'll try to. Yeah, we only have 128 left, so I'm nearly done, inshallah. 128, inshallah. Okay. ربنا وجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك. By the way, مسلمة لك. Just check the voweling on this. What does Ibrahim alayhi salam say? Another beautiful dua. Make me submitted to you. Make me submitted to you. Make us devoted. Make us Muslimin. What is Muslim? What is a Muslim? Someone in complete submission. Completely devoted, completely submitted to the path of Allah. This is what it means to be a Muslim, my brothers and my sisters. But what does he say first? Make us Muslim. Think about the wording very carefully. وَجْعَلْنَا Muslim. He's asking Allah, and we'll end with this. Ibrahim alayhi salam is asking Allah to make him and his sons and his people from those who completely submit. And why do I emphasize this so much? Ahsan, you're not making any sense. You just keep on doing hand movements and make a point. So the point is as follows. My brothers and my sisters, you might think that you're in a good place now, and inshallah you are. But Ibrahim alayhi salam always considered himself so low. Think about this and we will finish, I promise you. Ibrahim alayhi salam, the friend of Allah, the one who went through decades of trial and tribulation in the path of Allah, went through so much, was so close to Allah, and he still says, towards the end of his life, make me, not increase me, not I already am, not look how good I already am and just increase me a little bit more, make me from those who are proper Muslims, completely submitters, complete submitters, in complete submission, completely devoted, make me that, not increase me, not help me, not grant me more. It's like he already considers himself insignificant, my brothers and my sisters. And you know, that humility that you have when you make dua, that type of humility and modesty makes the difference. And that's what really brings you closer to your Allah. When you go to Allah with an empty cup, you'll gain a full vessel of water. When you go with a cup already half full, you'll only gain half a vessel. My brothers and my sisters, when we turn to Allah, I make dua that we turn to Allah in complete submission, with complete humility, completely empty, like we want Allah to give us everything that we can take, make us completely different to what we are now. And with that, inshallah, I will end. Subhanaka rabbana rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. From tomorrow, Awais and Abu Bakr and anyone else who can make a note, 130 to verse 141, the end of 141, amma kanu ya'malun. And the day after, we are going to go over a very interesting story about why the Qibla was changed. So whoever that brother was, if anyone can find out, or that sister who was called iPhone yesterday and asked the question, please do tune in for that, which isn't tomorrow, the day after. But that is it for me from today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.